Right, welcome to the Oblomov read-along 2025 over May and June. Thanks for joining. I'm sitting out here on the 1st of May. It's a wee bit cold, so I'm dressed up for it. And of course Willow's just heard me talking, so she's going to come and join us. Willow the Bengal cat. So if you haven't met her, you will. So this is the copy I have here by Stephen Pearl. This is the older copy that I read a couple of years ago, translated by David Magarshack. Here's Willow. You come to say hi to my viewers? Isn't she lovely? But she will shugle the video because it's on a very flimsy tripod. So yeah, I'm going to read part 1 and 2, parts 1 and 2 over May. And as I've been doing with Anna Karenina and Brothers Karamazov, what I do is I sit out here if I can, indoors if I can't, read a chapter a day, take notes in this notebook. Yes, Willow. It's a Leuchtturm 1917 and it works well with fountain pens, so this is where I sit. Let me show you this copy of the book. I have the Russian. So I did read some of that this morning, which was interesting. I was actually quite pleased with how much of it I was able to follow. So I will be looking at, I've got 2 translations, so I'll pick up on some differences between those 2 different translations, because that interests me and hopefully will interest you. And it's good I can look up the Russian as well where I want to. So I've done that for a couple of instances in chapter 1 here. Willow's just clawing my hand. So yeah, chapter 1, an interesting opening. So we're introduced to the main character, Ilya Ilyich. And yeah, let me just go in. There we go, I told you that would happen. We'll go into Russian naming conventions. In case you don't know about Christian names and patronymics. So patronymic is where a character takes the name of his father. So Ilya Ilyich means that his father was also called Ilyich. Sorry, his father was also called Ilya. So his name is Ilya, his father's name was Ilya, so he's called Ilya Ilyich Oblomov, surname. Right, well, are you going to give me peace? I think I might put her down, because I can't have the camera getting shugled all the time. So, yeah, Ilya Ilyich, and we've got Zakhar, or Zakhar. Not quite sure where the stress falls on that. I should learn that for this video, shouldn't I? Zakhar is his servant, and we're introduced to both of these characters quite early on, and we get some of that wonderful comic relief with the banter between the two. We get a description of the room in which Ilya is lying on his divan in his dressing gown. He uses just one room in the apartment. The other rooms have sheets over the furniture. The room is dirty, dusty. There's food scraps lying about. There's books lying open where he finished reading them, but they've been lying there so long that they're covered in dust. And you wonder at the beginning, when introduced to Zakhar as a servant, why does the servant not clean? That's what I wrote down. And then of course we get all the banter a bit later about that. So Oblomov is described as having a main characteristic of mildness, which in the Russian is mягкость. It says here, but neither the weariness nor the boredom could for a minute erase the mildness, which was not merely the dominant expression of his face, but the very essence of his whole being. So that describes his main temperament as mild. We get a description of his dressing gown, which is what he lies around in, and it talks of its Asiatic appearance and how it has not the slightest European touch. And that's interesting because I've read that this novel looks at the differences between European industrialness or get up and go or motivation versus Asiatic, I don't want to say laziness, because that I don't think that's the right word, which is interesting. Let's look at this tagline on the front here, where it says, the immortal hero of laziness. I kind of don't agree with that. I don't think Oblomov is lazy. I don't think I'm talking about the Eastern Asiatic difference between Europe and that. It's not laziness, it's more I say it's more chill. But I think where Oblomov is concerned, I think there's like a pathology going on. This is just an idea that I've come to based on my own life experience. I think that were he to be diagnosed in the modern age, he would probably have some kind of executive function disorder, maybe ADHD, but certainly he's not neurotypical. And there's a bit here where that's illustrated at the end of chapter 1, where he says what's he got to think about? A letter from the bailiff, there's the cleaning, there's the accounts that need done, there's planning to move out the apartment, and so he's overwhelmed, and it uses that word in the translation. But he says the problem was that he did not know what to think about. First, God, how life reaches out and grabs you, nowhere to hide. So the guy's just overwhelmed with so many things to do that he ends up lying on the couch and procrastinating. Does that sound like a modern day situation? It really does to me. So I find that an interesting idea that I'll probably come back to a lot over time as I make this vlog and put out written content on my Substack about this wonderful novel. I think Oblomov clearly has some neurodiverse characteristics going on. So yeah, that's really what I wanted to say about chapter 1. It's a really good introduction to the novel, and I just love the banter. Makes the novel easy to read, and you really get a picture of Oblomov's character through the interaction with his servant. And Zachar, I mean, he's got his own backstory, and that's alluded to. It talks of how he wears his tailcoat, he's got his big sideburns, and that's kind of what have I written down here? It says it's to show respect to the past. So it's referring to old Oblomov, whom Zachar served before young Oblomov. And the tailcoat's part of his uniform, even though it's tattered and fallen apart, is described as having his shirt poking through a hole in the armpit of his jacket, of his coat. But he still wears it, and he's got the sideburns, and it says that's a mark of respect to the servants that Zachar looked up to when he was younger. There's a bit here where, in the comic banter section, Oblomov looks at Zachar, and it says here, as if to say, you're even more of an Oblomov than I am myself. So he's referring to himself in the third person as a proper noun, as someone with a condition. So I wondered what the Russian would say there, and I looked it up, and it says, "Ну, брат, ты еще больше Обломов, нежели я сам." So it's a very good translation. You're more of an Oblomov, so it's got the article there. Russian doesn't have articles, so I was curious how that was in the Russian. So if you're interested, that's how it is. And there was one translation bit that stood out because as I was reading the Stephen Perel translation, I came across a word, cheese pairing, which I'd never come across before. Cheese pairing, one word, talking of a cheese pairing existence. So I looked up the Magarshack translation and it's down as a niggardly existence. And in the Russian, рассуждая о таком скаредном житии. Скаредный, it's a word I hadn't come across before. So cheese pairing I found interesting, I looked it up, I know what it means. It's niggardly is a good word for it actually as well, but I think, no, let's just leave that, that's a good word for it. Tight, miserly, that's kind of what it means. And so, yeah, that's over 10 minutes talking about chapter 1. This is going to be a long vlog, isn't it? Or shall I put it out chapter by chapter? That might be best actually. I'll think about it. You'll know by the time you see this because I'll already have made that decision. But for now, that's us. I hope you're going to enjoy reading the novel with me. I know I'm going to enjoy reading it again, and I look forward to learning more about myself through this wonderful work of Russian literature.